So, pretty exciting day overall for us. We just got our first nuke delivered, and somebody is already smitten. I have told her about a dozen times already to stay far away from them, but somebody doesn't want to listen. So, it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to train her up to avoid them, but it won't be much of a problem once we get them in with the chickens because, they'll be behind an electrified fence and they won't be messed with. It looks like they've had a pretty rough journey getting here. We've got a lot of roughed up bumbles sitting around here. But we've got a pretty good cluster going on. We've got the queen cage sitting in there. You can kind of see it. And, that one wasn't too bad. This one came through a little bit worse. Worse for wear. We got a lot more dead bumbles in the bottom, but I'm hopeful that they'll pull through. It looks like we've got at least a healthy amount to get them started. So once we get the hives built up, we'll make the transfer and we'll give them their day to orient themselves, and hopefully the wildflowers that we planted over here. In those dark spots, you can kind of see where we've used some of this thatch to lay back down. We've planted wildflowers all throughout, and we're going to actually fence this in eventually as well. So that'll help feed them, and then they've got a pretty good radius, so they'll go exploring and find some stuff. So I'm hopeful. So we've hit a little bit of a snag. We're building our wax foundations for our hives, which is this honey wax sheeting that you see here. And problem is the sheeting that we had, and I didn't anticipate this, so that's on me, is a little bit bigger than the frame that we have. So I've got to trim it down. But if you follow me real quick. What we're doing is basically giving them something a little bit better than the plastic to start off with, and they're going to melt it down and utilize it for their own purposes anyway. They're not really going to be dedicated to the section that we give them. So it's right there. Trimming it isn't such a big deal.
Over, yep.
See, this is how it's supposed to look. That's how we're going to get it when it's done. Trimming it isn't such a big deal because, like I said, they're going to melt it down, but overall it'll be pretty good. Alright, last one. Made it a little bit thicker, so this sheet wasn't as thick as the others, so there was a little bit of wobbliness, so we made it a little bit thicker. And yeah, our first two sets for our hives are good to go. And starting to run into the issue where they're starting to escape and I'm getting buzzed. So we gotta get them going here very soon, otherwise it's gonna get ugly. Well, not ugly, but they're gonna start exploring and figuring things out, and I don't want them to get too far without having the maiden flight taking place. So I got my supervisor here because, everybody needs to make sure their work's being done properly. And, yeah, I got nothing to say on that one. But what we're doing right now is we are preparing the sugar water mixture for the bees. And what this is basically, in the absence of nectar, since they just arrived, this will act as kind of like a kickstart. It's a 1-to-1 mix with that, and what that means is it's not like one thing of sugar per 1 cup of water. It's actually a pound of sugar to every physical pound of water. So we're going to get this mixed up now that the bees are waking up from being in the sun, and the first couple of combs are ready for them to work with. And I'll get suited up in order to pop the nuke and get them welcomed into their new home. Hopefully the maiden flight goes well, and they'll be able to track their way back here, because I'm aware of at least 6 other hives in the area. So I'm hoping they don't get in too much trouble. So something I forgot to mention while I was doing this and kind of showing you the pot going around and around is you don't want to boil the water, because that'll change the chemical makeup of the sugar itself. You know, like how you kind of make candy. And what'll that'll actually do is kill the bees. So you have to stir this until it just completely dissolves naturally into the water itself. So this is how our little guys are looking right now. Like I said, they're getting a little riled up with waking up in the sun. We got a few of them that have managed to escape. So I want to get them out of here as fast as possible. Now that the sugar water's done, I'll get suited up and we'll get the hives built and ready to go. All right. So about one more of these, and that's about all she wrote in terms of storage for the sugar water. Then we'll slide this back into the box, and this one will be good to go. We'll build the hives up once I get the second one filled. And then after that, we should be good for the nuke. So this is what I was trying to talk about while I was in the suit. Oh, excuse me. This is the comb that they had built while they were in their packages. And this is out of that sticky material I was trying to show you on the glove, the propolis. And that's what they're going to use to fill up the cracks in their hives and basically watertight and airtight their homes. So they're industrious, and they were loath to give this one up. This one was attached to the queen when we pulled her out, and that's where the box was. But I got a jar here that I think would be kind of cool. We're gonna label it and date it, and that way we can kind of follow these hives as they go and give updates. Once a week, once a month, once a year, however long it takes for major change. But I'm excited. We've set them up for success. They're in a good point of time, and this first year is going to be completely just them getting established in the area, and then next year we might start getting honey, and that'll be exciting because that means we can start doing a lot with them, and the products of the farm can really spread out. So like I was saying, this is the comb that we were seeing in the packages, and this one in particular was attached to the queen right along this spot here where I've got the breakage. And this year they're not really going to do much. They're going to get established, they're going to recover their numbers that they lost in shipping, and they're going to basically map out the area, and then they'll store up for winter. They're not really going to produce any excess for us, but that's perfectly fine, because as long as we can get them set up and established before winter, and we can get a good surplus built up for them, and I'm not too worried about it at all. But these are exciting because you get to make candles out of them. I can use them for fire starter kits. I can make all sorts of fun stuff. And then with the honey, you can do everything with. And I really want to go and start making that kind of produce for the farm. But for now, for posterity's sake, we're going to jar this up and throw in an oxygen absorber so she can keep. And we have the trophy of our farm's first combs. So, call me sentimental. But we expanded, and we're on the right path. So we got the backfield that's going to get leveled out here soon. I've got the water feature that I'm going to fix up for the bees so they can get fresh water. And then the actual chicken coop itself, which the trees that we took down, like I said, I'm going to use to turn to lumber. And then other than PT board and other extra materials, I'm hoping that a lot of that can be reclaimed for the coop itself. So here's hoping everything feeds into each other.